YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with another NFL offseason video. This one for the New Orleans Saints, playing GM throughout the whole offseason from free agency through a 7-round NFL mock draft at the end. Doing this video for every single NFL team, went in draft order, so a lot of them are already on the channel. And full NFL coverage, whether it's free agency, the NFL draft, we got you covered. We have two channels, the Goat House and the Goat House Plus. That Plus channel is somewhat new. You'll find a link in the description in the comments. Please subscribe to both. We'd really appreciate it. And then you'll find our Twitter and Instagram link in the description in the comments as well. Daily posts there, always answering any questions and talking football on that Twitter. So those are most follows there. And then something new, we actually started a podcast, only one episode out. At the time of recording this right now, it's on Spotify. It's being reviewed for Apple, and so it should be up on there in no time. And if you want the podcast in video form, you check out our Patreon. You'll find a link in the description for that. So a lot happening here at the Goat House. Always adding, always making improvements, so hopefully you can check all that out. First thing I like to do in these videos, kind of break down the depth of the team. So in this case, the Saints, quick evaluation, and the guys in red are free agents. So, there's not a whole bunch of key free agents, well, I guess if you factor in all the quarterbacks, then there is, but there are some pretty crucial ones in my opinion, but not like a long list. Throughout these videos, we've seen a lot worse, is my point. Starting at the top, receiver. I mean, you may very well have the best receiver in football, but you desperately need more help. You desperately need, with Ted Ginn, not what he used to be, and I mean, still a factor, I suppose, but I mean, you need kind of upgrade, younger versions of Ted Ginn. And then Traquan Smith, to me, is just a rotation guy that I like, but really, as you can see, you definitely need more help. And we'll get into the quarterback situation, but it's an interesting one. It's pretty straightforward if we're talking predictions, but in these videos, I'm kind of playing GM, and I don't really find it straightforward. But in Andrus Peat, maybe I don't want to say weak link because I think he's a solid guard, but maybe the weaker point of the offensive line, but still very young, can get better, so I think it could be a priority to get him back. But the offense is going to produce, and we've seen it no matter who the quarterback was. It's going to go out there and put points up on the board and win games. Looking at the defense, early in the year, I was surprised how good this defense was. I thought it was a top 10 defense early in the year, and it kind of declined a little bit as the year went on. Not a bad defense at all, but I think injuries played a part in that. Rankins, Davenport, guys like that. The obvious spot where you could get better is corner, and you see some free agents there, so we'll try to fix all that right here, right now. Making some cuts. Obvious one's Janoris Jenkins. It was basically a rental, getting him off waivers. $11.25 million. Yes, you cut him, you save that. You see, going into the cuts, we're at $9.75 million. That's not much at all. Not much at all. So we got to make some cuts. Kiko Alonso's a tough one because I thought he looked pretty solid when he wasn't hurt, but going to be coming off an injury. In 7.8 while you need cap space. So I went ahead and made the cut there. And you need to get better at cornerback all around. So it's Patrick Robinson's not gonna be a guy that makes or break your team, obviously. So $3.65 million. I go ahead and save that, and then we're up to 32.4, give or take, there million. So a big bump up in cap space heading into re-signing players. And this is where I got to stress: this is not predictions. This is me playing GM, and I think, to me, everyone else out there thinks it's pretty clear cut. Drew Brees. Here we go. Maybe we can get Taysom Hill back. To me, what should be the choice, and I think it's pretty obvious, it should be Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, you are killing your future letting Teddy Bridgewater walk. And there's those people that think, they can get Brees and then Taysom Hill to be the future quarterback. Taysom Hill is a hell of a football player, hell of a weapon. To me, he's not that franchise quarterback that's going to – I mean, the goal everywhere should be, but especially here, and the expectations is to win the Super Bowl. So I don't think that's the answer there. Bridgewater proved that he can play, not just this year, but he's proven in the past. He's always proved he's a talent, always getting better, very accurate quarterback. And then he proved he can win with the Saints this year. He proved it. Kind of getting thrown in there. First time really playing, it felt like, really getting that opportunity, not just getting thrown at the end of the games, since the injury. And to me, he looked real good. So, I mean, Drew, it's hard to sit there and say, all right, Drew, we're not bringing you back. They're in a very tough situation. But, going Drew Brees, obviously a 1-year deal, and that's my prediction. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They're going to go Drew Brees for a 1-year deal. They'll probably re-sign Taysom Hill. We'll have separate videos for predictions coming up in the very near future. But what I would do, Teddy Bridgewater, long-term, you're always going to be picking towards the end of the draft. I mean, you're not going to have the greatest opportunity to find that future quarterback, which usually comes through the draft. And I know they didn't find Teddy Bridgewater, but he was a first-round pick. That happened to, in a rare occasion, kind of slip through to them because of an injury situation that forced somebody else into where he came from. So a rare opportunity there. Bridgewater's ceiling is very high, and I really think you're hurting your future if you don't bring him in. And they signed a 1-year deal for a reason. I think he's going to go elsewhere to start for my prediction, really. Von Bell, kind of on and off throughout his career, but this year I thought he was very solid. I think they would like him back. Still very young and will be somewhat on the cheaper side. Andrews P, I talked about him. Yeah, still very young, could get better, and a very good offensive line. So I think you want to keep the unit together. I'm always a believer in you're as good as your unit. The unit kind of, it's just, I would like to keep the unit together if it's a solid unit, which it is. A.J. Klein, one of their linebackers, I would like to bring him back. I think he would come back for somewhat of a cheaper deal. So you are spending a lot of money on your own players here. And then we go into what I would do in terms of the major signings. So you can't go too big here. You can't spend a whole bunch of money because you don't have an insane amount of cap or anything crazy there, and you re-sign some of your players, one being a quarterback, possibly two. But Prince Amukamara was actually just released by the Bears. I would like him here. I think he's still a solid corner. Just the Bears only cut him because $9 million in cap was a lot to save, and they were in need of saving cap. So Amukamara, I think they go out and kind of get that veteran guy to put across from Latimer, maybe like a 1-year deal. Kind of don't mess around with these unproven guys. And then Brashad Perriman, like I said, they need more receivers. I think they need multiple of them. Perriman really stepped up last year with the Bucs. Kind of known as a bust before that. Now with the Bucs looked real good. I think he can succeed no matter who the quarterback is here in New Orleans. I would like him in there, and possibly could be the receiver 2 right away. Could look to the draft. Damon Harrison was released by the Lions. Solid nose tackle, can move around a bit, obviously, and cheaper deal I think for a guy with a 1 year left on possibly in the NFL, and that could be somebody for the Saints. Kind of looking for those veterans that could be somewhat cheaper that want to go to a contender, a win now team. And again, they kind of got to be careful with the cap space there. So, I wish I could give all these teams the best players. Some people get mad that I don't have Shaq Barrett, Dak Prescott, random guys that are the best free agents. That's just not how it works. So, this is kind of what it's going to look like for the Saints, unless they let a lot of guys walk. Maybe they're only signing Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. They're letting some other guys walk. We'll see. Out of my 7-round mock in this scenario, I really like Jeff Gladney. He's really growing on me. I know I signed Prince Amukamara, but it's going to be very important for them to get another outside corner for the future. And Gladney's a guy that's really growing on me. Could very well be my number 2 corner. Obviously, Okuda's going to be number 1. And I think the Saints would like to have him. It's kind of go big or go home with the corner. Van Jefferson, I like a lot better than the 88th pick, but he was there. Very good route runner. I think the reason he's not getting enough talk is because, he's a little older than some of the other receivers, but not a problem to me. Guy that's going to be open, and somebody that I think they could definitely use. Shane Lemieux at pick 120, another guard. Maybe the future for Warford. Maybe if Andrews P doesn't continue to work out, that's kind of that safety guard, but could start right away there. And then Jacob Phillips, adding another linebacker in there. We're cutting Kiko Alonso, so add an LSU guy here. Stay home here. And Phillips, should go earlier than 151, but a guy that could potentially start for them, really. And then James Lynch, who kind of played end for Baylor, but I like to kick him inside here. It's a good value pick at 183, and they do need depth at the interior defensive line position pretty badly because of the injuries, and they need somebody else that's kind of a pass rusher from the interior defensive line. It's pretty much Rankins, and he's kind of been hurt every single year he's played so far. So you kind of need another one of those guys. And obviously would like better earlier, but limited picks, so many needs. I think corner of the future and another receiver to pair with Michael Thomas is pretty important. I don't know if I see them drafting a receiver in the first. It depends on if somebody drops, but I think it's a pretty good good way to go here. I really like Gladney. I know you have Latimer. Latimer's a guy that early last year, he was, I thought, a top 3 corner. I mean, we're talking through like 5 weeks probably. In the second half, I don't know what happened in the second half of the year. I still think his rookie year was the best. So I need to see him pick it up. I really do. And then Gladney really in the near, I like him a lot. I think can any type of coverage, very good in press, very athletic. There really isn't a flaw. I mean, he went against Big 12 offenses, so there really isn't a flaw you can find with Gladney. It's got a kind of a guy that came out of nowhere all of a sudden, but there's really no flaw. I think he eventually can take over that corner one spot. I really do. Unless Lattimore stays consistent, because again, 1 week he looks elite almost, and then all of a sudden I don't know what happened to him. So we'll see. The Saints, interesting team, because if they, which we expect them to, choose Breeze over Bridgewater, don't think they can have both. Mainly because cap, but also because I think Bridgewater wants to start. But if they do choose Breeze, it is the ultimate, Super Bowl or bust season. Like, they have to win this year. Like, it really feels like that. And limited cap space, limited draft picks. Tough task. I mean, we're all so used to expecting the Saints to win, and they will. But it's still kind of a tough task to get back. It is for everybody, but you see they're pretty limited in some ways. So an interesting team for this offseason and going into next year. We'll see what they decide to do. Maybe there'll be some surprises with those quarterbacks, those 3 quarterbacks they have as free agents. But that's going to do it for this one. Again, doing every single NFL team going in draft order, so you can find a whole bunch of them already on the channel. And then plenty more coverage, such as mock drafts, plenty more. Even in season, we got predictions. 2 channels. Please subscribe to both. We have a podcast now. You'll find a link in the description in the comments for everything, including our Twitter and Instagram, so go check all that out. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching this video. That's going to do it. Goodbye.